We are ready to go.
So first things first, for people that don't know who you are, would you mind introducing yourself and where you sit in the arts youth sector?
Sure, my name's Anastasia and I work for Do Faces of Youth Arts, which is a regional youth arts centre in Whyalla, South Australia. I'm originally from Perth. I studied arts management there at Whyalla, and this is kind of my first real job in the industry, and it's crazy.
I love that. So I guess I will first start on like a bit of like reflection. So there's been a lot of discussion over the past 3 days. A lot of varying discussion that covered like a range of topics that's almost indescribable in size and scope.
Yes.
I'm interested in like what's one conversation that you've heard and that you've been a part of that you're like, I am taking this conversation with me and I'm continuing it when the summit ends.
Probably what Adam Drake said about walking with young people and just being there and being the best adult you can possibly be in their presence to sort of be like someone who's stable in their lives and someone who can be a good example and someone who can uplift them in some ways, because I definitely found it really overwhelming when I first moved to a regional town. I was like, this is the frontier, the apocalypse has already happened. I'm talking like multiple lockdowns a week at the school because people have knives, like drug abuse, like people getting killed in motorbike accidents at the age of 14, that was a lot, and I was shocked at how dangerous it was and how bad the quality of life was, and that just felt like an unbearable crushing weight if you're trying to fight against it. But I think hearing that from him, particularly in relation to his experience working with youth in prisons, it was really comforting and sort of gave me a way forward to say, oh, you don't have to save the world. You have to be there, and I guess you kind of want to be a beacon in some ways, but really just like be yourself and be the best you can be, and just your presence is enough.
I think it was particularly that phrase you used. It was like, you can't save anyone, you can only love them.
Yes.
Which really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And then I'm also really interested hearing in that perspective. It's your first like proper job. We do a lot of jobs. First proper job in the youth art sector and the arts industry. I'm interested in hearing what it's like being in that position as somebody who's also a young person, because that's not always the norm when it comes to youth arts.
Totally.
You found that experience, having that gap between you and then the young artists you work with be a lot smaller than many other situations.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to address the proper job. The reason I call this my first proper job, my first real job, is I mean that it's the first job I've had that I haven't had to supplement with other jobs. So I've definitely worked in youth arts before, but this is the first time that it's been like the main thing I'm doing, which is really nice because it means that I can focus more of my attention and more of myself on it. I actually said to the chairperson of my board about 5 months in, I don't think you should ever hire a 21-year-old for this job again. I'm 22 now, but I'm 21 when I started. I'm pretty sure the guy before me was 21 when he started as well. And I think we both, in different ways, like found it quite stressful and bore the effects of that differently. But I definitely had a lot of just crying on the floor in my house because the Regions is incredibly isolating and you're just alone out there. I was also the only person working there for the first 6 months, so I didn't have any co-workers, didn't have any friends, didn't have any family. And even though I knew how to do the job, I still always felt like I was just floating in space, didn't have any anchor points, and I felt like if I disappeared, nobody would know. So that was the terrifying thing. So my experience working in youth arts as a young person was that at that point I wished I had been older and stronger. But I later realised that older people feel that way as well. And that the advantage to being young is that you can sort of show young people that it's possible to do these things, even though they are scary. Probably the people I work with also feel like there are lots of things they can't do, and if I'm able to be honest with them about sometimes I feel like I can't do this job, but as you can see, I am doing it. And we're working through these things all the time. I think the Edge is a great place to go if you are a little bit outside your comfort zone. If you sort of know you can do it, but you're terrified of doing it, you're in a really great position to learn and to get stronger. And I feel like I've done a lot of that over the past 6 to 8 months.
And to return to Adam's keynote, because it was so good, the lean in. All you've got to do is lean in. And then I'm really interested, having had a lot of discussion around resources and funding and how we better support this industry to be sustainable, because we're about to go into a really economically tough period.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody asks you, like, what do you need? What do you and your young artists need from us? What do you need from the government, from the public? What would you tell them? Like, what can people give you? And like me as a young artist and somebody who works with young artists, what do you think we need to move forward?
I think we need the support and love of the entire community. And it's really interesting, I was talking to Fraser Caulfield about this. I was saying it is really common to have severe burnout, particularly for leaders of youth arts organisations and particularly in the regions. And I said, I think the reason that is because we're putting one person as a load-bearing joint to connect and inspire the entire community. And if you're someone from outside the community trying to do that, it's like trying to, I don't know, pull a dead whale off the beach by yourself. Like, it's just horrendous. But if we had a better network, if we worked on sort of like cultivating the soil better, if we had a whole community, like all still connecting to that person, but like if the whole thing was just, if the load was spread a bit more evenly. So I guess it's like a bit of a chicken and the egg thing, like maybe it is the role of that person in leadership to try and cultivate that community, or maybe that person can't exist without the community. But I suppose like that's not something anyone can give, like that's not a money thing, it's just like, it's just time and care and people understanding that even if they're not artists, even if they don't go to the ballet or the opera, the arts is still important in their lives in so many ways, just as like the moral support, that song that you listen to when you've had a horrible day, or like a movie that you would watch for comfort if you're a long way from home. The arts supports all of us and we need to support the arts back and give it to each other.
That's a really great point to end on, and beautifully literarily structured.
Thank you.
You were speaking.